I was standing in the cereal aisle at the grocery store, debating between my usual bran flakes and something more adventurous, when I heard a voice that made my heart skip 30 years backward. Sarah? Sarah Mitchell. I turned around and there he was, Michael Thompson, the boy who had owned my teenage heart and broke it into a million pieces when we were just 18 years old. The fluorescent lights above seemed to dim as I took in the sight of him. His dark hair was now silver at the temples, and laugh lines framed eyes that were still the same warm brown I remembered. He looked distinguished in a way that made me suddenly conscious of my yoga pants and the fact that I hadn't bothered with makeup for a simple grocery run. "Michael," I managed to say, my voice catching slightly. "I can't believe it's you. 30 years. 30 years since graduation night when he told me he was leaving for college in California and didn't want to hold me back with a long-distance relationship. 30 years since I watched his taillights disappear down Maple Street, taking my first love and all my naive dreams of forever with him." We stood there for a moment, two middle-aged people in a grocery store, but I felt like that 17-year-old girl again, the one who used to count down the minutes until I could see him in the hallway between classes, the one who practiced writing Mrs. Sarah Thompson in the margins of my notebooks. "You look wonderful," he said, and I could hear the genuine warmth in his voice. "I heard you became a teacher." 28 years at Roosevelt Elementary, I replied, finding my footing again. "And you? Did you become that famous architect you always talked about?" He smiled, but there was something wistful about it. "I did, actually. Spent most of my career in Seattle, designed some buildings you might have seen on postcards. But I'm back now. My mom's getting older and she needs help." I nodded, understanding completely. I had moved back to our small Ohio town 15 years ago, when my own mother started showing signs of dementia. Sometimes life has a way of bringing us full circle, doesn't it? "Would you like to grab coffee sometime?" he asked, and the question hung in the air between us like a bridge spanning 3 decades. I'd love to catch up properly. 3 days later, I found myself sitting across from him at Maggie's Diner, the same place where we used to share milkshakes after Friday night football games. The red vinyl booths were cracked now, and Maggie herself had passed away years ago, but the coffee was still strong and the apple pie still reminded me of my grandmother's kitchen. Michael told me about his life: 2 marriages, both ending in amicable divorces, no children by choice, a successful career that left him wealthy but somehow empty. I shared my own story. My marriage to David that lasted 23 years until cancer took him, our 2 grown children living their own lives in distant cities, my quiet existence filled with books, gardening, and Saturday phone calls from my daughter. "Do you ever wonder," he said, stirring sugar into his coffee, "what would have happened if I hadn't left?" The question I had asked myself 1,000 times over the years. "I used to," I admitted. But then I realized that wondering about the path not taken robs you of appreciating the path you did take. David was a good man. He loved me deeply, and we built a beautiful life together. "I'm glad," Michael said, and I could tell he meant it. "I always worried that I had hurt you too much." "You did hurt me," I said quietly. "But I was 18, Michael. I thought love meant never having to say goodbye. I know better now. Sometimes love means letting someone go, so they can become who they're meant to be." Over the following months, Michael and I began to rebuild a friendship. We took long walks through the park where we used to meet as teenagers. We attended our old high school's football games, sitting in the bleachers and marveling at how much smaller everything looked. We discovered shared interests we never knew we had: a love of old movies, a passion for historical documentaries, an appreciation for quiet Sunday mornings. But it wasn't the same as it had been 30 years ago, and I'm grateful for that. This wasn't the desperate, all-consuming love of youth. This was something deeper, more complex. We were 2 people who had lived full lives, who had loved and lost, who understood that happiness isn't a destination but a choice you make every day. One evening, as we sat on my back porch watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of gold and pink, Michael reached over and took my hand. His fingers were rougher now, marked by years of hard work and the passage of time, but they felt perfect intertwined with mine. "I know we can't go back," he said, "and I wouldn't want to, but I'd like to move forward if you're willing." I looked at this man who had been my first love, then my greatest heartbreak, and now had become my deepest friendship. Life had brought us both exactly where we needed to be, in ways we never could have planned. "I think," I said, squeezing his hand, That some stories don't end when you think they do. Sometimes they just take a long intermission before the second act begins. If you're over 50 and wondering if it's too late for new chapters, let me tell you something. It's never too late. Love doesn't have an expiration date, and neither do second chances. Sometimes the very thing we think we've lost forever walks back into our lives when we least expect it, bringing with it the wisdom to love better, deeper, and more truly than we ever knew was possible. The best stories I've learned are the ones that surprise you, including your own.